Respected viewers, dear family of dreamers, beloved listeners, there is a quiet moment in every life when time stands still, and you begin to wonder why some people seem to move ahead with ease, while others remain stuck, despite working just as hard, perhaps even harder. It is in that silent question that destiny begins to whisper, not loudly, not forcefully, but gently, asking you, are you truly seeing the world as it is? Or are you still seeing it as it once was? Because wealth, true wealth, has never belonged to the strongest, or even the smartest. It has always belonged to those who understood where the world was going before it arrived there. And today, we stand at such a moment. I remember a time, not too long ago, when making money meant waking up early, commuting through crowded streets, trading hours for dollars, believing that security lived in a monthly paycheck. It felt stable, predictable, almost comforting. But beneath that comfort, there was a quiet fear, a fear of losing that one source of income, a fear of being replaceable, a fear of not having control over one's own financial future. Many people never admit it, but deep inside, they feel trapped. And perhaps you have felt it too, that invisible ceiling, where no matter how hard you work, your income seems to stay the same. Your dreams slowly adjust themselves to fit your limitations, and over time, you begin to believe that maybe this is all life has to offer. But here is a truth that changed everything for me. The world does not reward effort. It rewards value. You see, there was a time in my own journey when I believed that working harder would solve all my financial problems. I chased opportunities, tried different ventures, and failed more times than I can count. There were days when I questioned my own abilities, nights when the weight of uncertainty felt unbearable. I remember starting something small, full of hope, only to watch it collapse quietly, without applause, without recognition, just silence. Failure has a way of humbling you, but it also has a way of teaching you if you are willing to listen. One of the hardest lessons I learned was that money flows towards systems, not struggles. It does not matter how difficult your journey is. If what you are doing does not create scalable value, it will always remain limited, and that is where the digital economy changed everything. You see, for the first time in history, we are no longer limited by geography, by physical presence, or even by traditional credentials. A person sitting in a small room with nothing more than a laptop and an internet connection can now create income streams that were once only available to large corporations. But here is the part most people miss. Opportunity does not remove fear. When I first stepped into the digital world, I felt overwhelmed. There were too many options, too many voices, too many promises of quick success. And somewhere in that noise, I hesitated. I told myself, maybe I need more knowledge. Maybe I am not ready. Maybe this is not for people like me. And that is how dreams are quietly postponed, not by failure, but by hesitation. The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. The people who succeed are not the ones who have no fear. They are the ones who move forward despite it. They understand that clarity comes from action, not from overthinking. So let us talk, calmly and honestly, about what truly works in this new digital economy. The first path is building a skill that the world values and offering it online. Writing, designing, editing, marketing. These are not just skills, they are bridges. Bridges between your effort and someone else's need. And when you connect the two, income begins to flow. But it requires patience, because in the beginning, you are not paid for your time, you are paid for your credibility, and credibility takes time to build. The second path is creating content. Now, many people misunderstand this. They believe content is about fame, about going viral, about instant recognition. But true content creation is about trust. It is about showing up consistently, even when no one is watching. It is about sharing value without expecting immediate returns. Because slowly, almost invisibly, an audience begins to form. And with that audience comes influence. And with influence comes opportunity. But most people quit too early. They do not see the invisible progress, the quiet growth, the small signals that something meaningful is being built beneath the surface. The third path is digital products. There is something deeply powerful about creating something once and allowing it to serve people again and again. An ebook, a course, a simple guide. These are not just products. They are pieces of your knowledge, transformed into assets. And assets have the ability to work for you, even when you are resting. But again, the challenge is not the method, it is the mindset. Because in the beginning, the results are slow, sometimes painfully slow. And in those moments, your belief will be tested. You will wonder if it is worth it, if you are wasting your time, if you should go back to what feels safe. And that is where most people turn back. Not because the path does not work, but because it requires a level of patience that is rare. The fourth path is online business models like e-commerce or services, selling products, solving problems, creating convenience. These are timeless principles. The only difference now is that your market is no longer limited to your neighborhood. It is global. But with that opportunity comes competition, and competition demands excellence. You cannot simply participate. You must improve, refine, learn, adapt. You must become better, not overnight, but gradually, consistently, with quiet determination. The fifth path is investing in digital assets. Now this requires caution, because where there is opportunity, there is also noise. People chase trends without understanding fundamentals. They look for quick gains without respecting risk. And often, they pay the price. True investing is not about excitement. It is about discipline. It is about understanding value and having the patience to let that value grow over time. The sixth path is automation, building systems that continue to operate even when you step away. It could be a website, a funnel, a process, something that reduces your direct involvement while maintaining output. And finally, the seventh path is combining these elements into something uniquely yours. Because the real power is not in choosing one path, but in creating a system where multiple streams support each other. But let me be honest with you, none of this will matter if you do not change the way you think about money. If you continue to see money as something scarce, something difficult, something reserved for others, then no strategy will ever feel enough. But when you begin to see money as a result of value, as a reflection of service, as a tool for freedom, everything begins to shift. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. And yet, this transformation does not happen overnight. It happens in moments. Small decisions, daily habits, choices that seem insignificant. But over time, define your entire financial future. I have seen people with talent fail because they lacked patience, I have seen people with limited skills succeed because they stayed consistent. And in the end, it is not about how fast you start. It is about how long you are willing to stay on the path even when the results are invisible, even when the world does not applaud, even when doubt begins to whisper that perhaps this is not working, because this is the moment where the real journey begins. You see, success in the digital economy is not built in the visible moments. It is built in the silence, in the early mornings when no one is watching, in the late nights when you choose to continue even when your energy is gone. It is built in the discipline to repeat simple actions over and over again without immediate reward. Most people are not defeated by failure. They are defeated by boredom. They start with excitement, full of energy, dreaming of quick success. But when the days turn into weeks and the results remain small, that excitement fades, and in its place comes doubt. A quiet voice that asks, "Is this really worth it?" And this is where your mindset must evolve. You must begin to understand that wealth is not created in bursts of motivation. It is created through steady, almost invisible consistency. It is not about doing something extraordinary once. It is about doing something ordinary, exceptionally well, for a long period of time. There was a phase in my journey where nothing seemed to work. I was trying, learning, applying, and yet, the results were painfully slow. At times, it felt like I was moving in circles. The effort was real, but the rewards were not, and in those moments, I had a choice, to stop or to trust, and trust is not easy when you cannot see progress. But here is something I learned that changed everything. Just because results are invisible does not mean they are not happening. Growth, especially financial growth, often happens beneath the surface. Like roots of a tree, expanding quietly, preparing for a future that has not yet arrived. And if you interrupt that process, if you keep switching paths, chasing faster results, you never give anything enough time to grow. Patience is not passive, it is active endurance. It is the ability to stay committed without immediate evidence. And this is where most people fall behind, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack emotional discipline. They allow their feelings to control their decisions. They feel excited, so they act. They feel discouraged, so they quit. But wealth does not respond to emotion. It responds to consistency. There will be days when you feel inspired, and days when you feel nothing at all. And on those days, the only thing that will carry you forward is discipline, the quiet decision to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And yes, there will be sacrifices, moments when you say no to comfort, to distractions, to things that offer short-term pleasure, but no long-term value. You will invest time, energy, focus, without immediate return. And the world may not understand. They may question you, doubt you, even discourage you. But you must remember, every meaningful journey looks uncertain from the outside. The digital economy rewards those who think long-term, those who are willing to delay gratification, those who understand that building something valuable takes time. Whether it is an audience, a skill, a product, or an investment, the principle remains the same. Consistency compounds. Small efforts, repeated daily, become significant over time. A single video may not change your life, but 100 videos, created with intention, can build something powerful. One client may not feel like success, but 10 satisfied clients can create momentum. A small investment may seem insignificant, but over years, It can grow into something meaningful. This is the quiet magic that most people overlook. They search for big opportunities while ignoring small beginnings, but everything begins small, and the ones who succeed are not the ones who wait for perfect conditions. They are the ones who start with what they have and improve along the way. There is also something deeper, something more subtle, that you must understand. Not every opportunity is meant for you. In the digital world, there is an endless flow of ideas, strategies, trends, and it is easy to become distracted, to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something easier, something faster. But true progress requires focus. It requires the courage to choose a path and stay with it long enough to see results, to ignore the noise, and trust your direction, because every time you switch, you reset your progress. You start again, from the beginning, and time is the one resource you cannot recover. So choose wisely. Choose something that aligns, not just with profit, but with your ability to stay consistent. Because in the end, the best strategy is the one you can sustain. And as you continue on this journey, something begins to change within you. At first, you are chasing money. But slowly, you begin to understand that money is simply a byproduct, a result of value, discipline, and time. And when you focus on those elements consistently, the results begin to follow. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually. And that is the kind of growth that lasts. There will come a moment when you look back and realize that the person you were is no longer the person you have become. That the fears, the doubts, the limitations that once held you back have lost their power, not because they disappeared, but because you grew beyond them. And in that quiet realization, something within you settles. The urgency begins to fade. The constant need to prove yourself, to chase, to rush. It softens. You begin to understand that wealth is not something you capture. It is something you build, patiently, deliberately, with intention. There is a calm confidence that replaces the noise. You no longer feel the need to follow every trend or compare your journey with others, because deep down, you know that your path is unfolding exactly as it should. The same patience that once felt difficult now becomes your greatest strength. And this is where clarity arrives. You begin to see money differently, not as something emotional, not as something urgent, but as something logical, something structured, something that responds to discipline and time. You stop reacting and start thinking. You stop chasing and start building. The digital economy, which once felt overwhelming, now feels like a landscape of opportunity. Not because it changed, but because you did. You understand now that making money online is not about luck or shortcuts or quick wins. It is about creating value consistently in a way that can reach people beyond your immediate surroundings. It is about building systems that continue to serve even when you are not actively working, and slowly, those systems begin to take shape, a piece of content that continues to bring attention long after it was created, a skill that once felt small, now becoming a reliable source of income, a digital product, quietly helping people while generating returns, small streams coming together, forming something steady, something dependable, not overnight, but over time. And perhaps the most powerful change is not in your income, but in your mindset. You begin to feel a sense of control, a quiet independence. The fear that once held you back loses its grip, because now you know that you can create value, that you can adapt, that you can rebuild if needed. This is true financial confidence, not the kind that comes from having money, but the kind that comes from knowing you can always create it. And with that confidence comes peace. You no longer feel rushed by time or pressured by comparison. You move with intention, with patience, with clarity. You make decisions, not out of fear, but out of understanding. And this is where the journey becomes meaningful. Because in the end, it was never just about making money online. It was about becoming someone who understands how money works. Someone who respects time, who values discipline, who embraces long-term thinking. Someone who is no longer controlled by circumstances, but guided by vision. And as you sit quietly, reflecting on your journey, you realize something profound, that every struggle, every doubt, every slow day was not a setback. It was preparation. Preparation for this moment, where you no longer seek shortcuts, where you no longer fear uncertainty, where you no longer doubt your ability to grow. Because now, you understand that wealth is not a destination, it is a way of thinking. There comes a moment in every meaningful journey when all the scattered pieces of your effort, your patience, your silent struggles begin to come together, not loudly, not all at once, but gently, like the first light of morning after a long, uncertain night. And in that moment, you begin to understand something that most people spend their entire lives chasing, but rarely find. That wealth was never just about money. It was about vision, the ability to see beyond your current reality. It was about patience, the strength to wait when nothing seems to be happening. It was about discipline, the quiet commitment to keep going, even when motivation fades. And above all, it was about becoming the kind of person who no longer depends on luck, but creates value consistently. You see, the digital economy, with all its noise, its speed, its endless opportunities, is simply a tool. A powerful one, yes, but still just a tool. And like any tool, it responds to the hands that use it. If those hands are guided by fear, impatience, and the desire for quick rewards, the results will always be fragile, temporary, uncertain. But if those hands are steady, guided by clarity, long-term thinking, and a deep understanding of value, then something remarkable begins to happen. You stop chasing money, and money quietly begins to find its way to you, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through consistency, through service, through time. And as this realization settles within you, there is a sense of calm, a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks or external noise. Because now, you are no longer building for today, you are building for a future that is shaped by intention, strengthened by patience, and guided by wisdom. So take a deep breath and look at your journey, not with doubt, but with respect. Every step you have taken, every lesson you have learned, every moment you chose to continue, when it would have been easier to stop. It all matters, more than you realize, because in the end, success is not reserved for the fastest or the loudest. It belongs to those who stay, who remain steady when others rush, who remain patient when others quit, who remain focused when others get distracted. And if you can do that, quietly, consistently, with belief in your path, then not only will you create income, you will create something far more valuable: freedom, clarity, and a life that is truly your own. So move forward, calmly, wisely, and with purpose. Because the future you seek is already being built by the choices you make today.